How to describe this afternoon's recording? How do you describe the group that you put together?
This group of guys here are started out as my mentors, my heroes, guys that kind of showed me the ropes a little bit to get started.
Okay.
And then turned me loose, wound me up, kicked me in the rear end, and told me to get out of here and go.
Welcome to Beyond the Chutes. It's presented by ParaSight Systems. I'm your host, Doug Simcox, and I hope that you're having a great day, staying safe, and enjoying this beautiful spring weather. In December, I traveled to Sam's Ranch up in Brevard, New York, and we recorded episodes that we have been releasing that we are calling the Rawhide Ranch recordings. On Thursday of that week in December, the final day of our recording sessions, I woke up. It was cold outside, probably mid-20s, and about a half-inch of snow was on the ground. At around 11 o'clock in the morning, we had 4 New York Rodeo Cowboys that joined us at the kitchen table. The first was Mike Swearingen. Now, you've heard him on several episodes of Beyond the Chute. We also had Gary Sikora at the table. Now, this was the first time meeting Gary. I'd seen a lot of posts and a lot of pictures that they had posted about him on the New York State Rodeo Museum Facebook group page. And joining us also was Dave Montier. Now, this also was the first time meeting for him, but I have known his son Jack for several years, and I've met and talked with his grandkids, Levi and Riley. Of course, you remember Riley on BTC down at the International Finals Rodeo when we recorded down there in Oklahoma City. Darryl Lane also was on the phone. Now, I remember meeting him in the early 1990s. He was a steer wrestler, calf roper, he hazed, he bulldogged, he did it all. Now, Mike had set this session up. He suggested a bunch of his traveling partners get together, sit around the table, and tell their rodeo stories. You're going to notice you're not going to hear Sam or I on this episode. We wanted to hear great friends and rodeo cowboys share their stories, uninterrupted and unfiltered. We recorded a total of 4 hours, and this is the first 2 hours of their conversation. We invite you to do what we did. Get yourself a cup of coffee or hot tea, whatever you might be drinking. Pull up a chair, get around the table, elbow in, because that's exactly what I did during these recording sessions with Mike, Gary, Dave, and Darryl. We hope you enjoy these rodeo cowboys and their stories.
No, I'm Mike Swearingen. I live in Wyoming, New York right now, and I grew up pretty much most of my life in Leicester, New York, and it's kind of where rodeoing kind of started for me.
I'm Gerry Sikora. Been rodeoing. Well, I started rodeo in 1969, and after I was at a rodeo, I grew up in Edgerton Park area, Rochester, New York, and one of the greatest rodeo companies at the time was Colonel Jemescu. And Colonel Jemescu's professional rodeo was before PRCA. It was an RCA rodeo. Casey Tibbs was there. I saw him. Jack Bushbaum, Burbeck champion. A lot of top names. So as a kid, myself and my brother would walk down there. It was right in our neighborhood. And you could smell the cows coming in. And we loved it. And we watched them bring in the steers. The next day, the bulls. And then finally they put up a big, huge tent. And they brought in all the horses. And they would carry dogging horses. They would carry, parade horses, all that type of thing. And it was phenomenal. The horses were in tremendous shape. Colonel Jemescu was a wiry little guy, always dressed in buckskins for the rodeo. The whole family was just very, very cool. And Darryl, you're not too far from actually where they had their summer ranch, Waverly, New York.
Yeah, well, I am now.
You are. Well, you are not. You're far away from there now.
Right.
Yeah, but when you grew up in central New York, Waverly wasn't too much.
No.
Right? So.
Probably 45 miles south of
Okay.
me, probably.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. So Darryl, they had a big farm / ranch there where they would keep their, they were from Oklahoma. I think Ardmore, maybe. I'm not positive. But anyway, that's where they would have their horses. They would keep their bucking horses, bulls, the whole thing, and trailer them out of Waverly, New York. And anyway, we came intrigued, tremendously intrigued with that rodeo. It was 7 days, 7 nights, sold out every performance. Now, sold out plus, but the neighborhood kids, we didn't have money to get in, so we had to sneak in. I guess I'm going to admit a couple wrongs today. But we used to sneak in the rodeo every single day and every single night. And there were, this is kind of funny to me, but we had a neighborhood legend, a guy named Frank Pepe. He was probably, when he was 15, he was shaving. He was probably 5'11", 240, 250 pounds. Very muscular, very strong, very, very big. Frank, I hate to use that term, but he wasn't the brightest bulb in the closet. But anyway, he was the strongest guy in town. So at Edgerton Park, there was a big fence around it, a big wrought iron fence, strong steel, like you would use in a prison. Every night, I would say anywhere from 10 to 30 kids would line up behind me and my brother and Frank, the Amazon Pepe. And as soon as, and no disrespect to my country, I love America, but as soon as the national anthem started, okay, all the guards had to stand and salute. It's tradition I know very well, being a cop. But anyway, they're standing at attention. Frank Pepe comes over and he grabs the bars and with his bare hands pulls them apart. Big enough where 8, 9, and 10-year-old kids could run in there. And I'll tell you what, every time I go to the city and I see a guy from the neighborhood, they always tell that same story. But anyway, that watched every performance, 7 days, 7 nights, got hooked on rodeo. And it was just a dream, and then we can talk later on how that dream came true. But that's kind of what I am right now.
Well, I'm Dave Mintier. I grew up in Pennsylvania, down near Pittsburgh, and they didn't have a horse. They didn't know nothing about him, but I always loved the horse. And I found sports magazine that had an article in there about Casey Tibbs, and he got my interest into rodeo. And then I found something about Jim Shoulders, a magazine or something. I don't remember how I found it. But anyway, that was, I finally did get a horse, got to ride a little bit, go to some local horse shows, and that was my beginning. I got married and moved to New York, and was working on a dairy farm, and I looked in the paper and seen this guy advertising horses for sale. When I left Pennsylvania, I left my horse at my parents'. Anyway, I met this guy, and right away I started talking to him about rodeo. I got him excited about it, and we built an arena in Lima. And they wanted me to be part of it, and I did help build it and that, and got everybody going, but I had no money to put into it. So, but anyway, that led to the Lima Rodeo, and we started from there. Several guys got to come in there, and I think that was one of the first places Eddie Phillips went to, and then I think Gerry came along a few years later.
That was the first rodeo.
Yeah. Yeah. So Gerry said that was his first. So that was where it all began for me. And I went to the ARA, I had a PRCA permit. Well, it was RCA then when I first started. I had right after, right just before we got married, we left Pennsylvania. I joined the Ohio Rodeo Cowboys Association, and I went to some of their rodeos down in that area, and actually ended up going to Gerry. And that's where my wife and I went on our honeymoon, was at Gerry, New York, to the rodeo.
Yeah. That's a story that's floated around for years.
Yeah.
That you just verified as true.
Yeah, and we celebrated 61 years this year, and that's where we went, was to Gerry.
Could become a destination.
So
What about you, Darryl? Yeah, where'd you?
What about me? I grew up in a little town called Locke, New York. It's about probably 12 miles above Ithaca, New York. I grew up on a dairy farm. My
John.
uncle, John, he was
Excellent
into
horseman.
rodeo, and that's what really got me started. He had really nice horses. He went to some of Colonel Eskew's rodeos. I can remember going to one when I was a boy. I was little, and I couldn't tell you where it was. It was so long ago, and I was so small. But I can imagine. I remember really being impressed with his production, the team rope or the trick roping. And
Unbelievable
stuff. It was
specialty
unbelievable,
acts.
You know, for a kid. Yeah, and that was gone by the time I started learning to rope and stuff. And we used to have little rodeos in Cortland, New York. They used to have some over there on the fairgrounds in North Lansing. We had a club there, Zane Gray Corral, and they had gymkhana shows and rodeos there. And that's basically where I started. I can remember Bernie and Nappy and a lot of people coming there. Marshall Conklin, you know, there's a whole bunch of them old ropers and stuff that would come there. It was pretty neat. That's where I really met all them guys, you know. And I started roping calves, I guess, when I was 12. Steer wrestling when I was 16. But you know, I just liked it. I loved it, you know. Actually, as a kid growing up, I was making more money going to gymkhana shows on the weekends than I was working for my dad all week on the farm. I just liked the whole horse, you know, atmosphere, you know. I just loved it, you know, and that's what I wanted to do. That's where my heart was. And I guess I did have a little knack with them. I don't feel like I was very athletic, but I had a natural way with horses. I could get along with horses, you know. I had to work at stuff. I can remember teaching Dick Fountain how to dally when you're heeling steers. I taught him how to do it in 15 minutes, and he could do it. That's how athletic he is. And I can't do it. I still can't do it.
You better call Rick.
But, I mean, I just was good with horses. That's what gave me an edge of anything, you know. I just could read horses, and I guess it was my biggest attribute, you know, and I could make good horses. I could buy good horses. I was just blessed, finally blessed my whole career with some great horses. Right to the end. I got a good one sitting out there now, and I don't do nothing with them. Somebody should.
Darryl, Gerry, don't underestimate your athleticism. I've seen you hang off horses, reach down, grab guys, pick them up. You're a big athlete, and I'm telling you what, I'm always proud to know you and rodeo with you. That's for sure.
Well,
and probably the best hazer.
Well, the biggest thing I would like.
Right, Pard?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
You're a good hell of a hazer.
What I would really like to share with you has nothing to do with back then. It's got to do with now, I think, is more important than anything I could tell you guys. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer, small cell, and the life expectancy is 3 years. When I got it, I'm a Christian. I've been healed. God has healed me. Just up and healed me for no reason. I have a great faith in God, and I go to church every week. And when I got it, I felt led to start researching it online, what I could do to cure myself. And I kept coming up with 2 things. This is what I'm telling you. Somebody threw me a lifeline back then. That's why I'm alive today. I kept coming up with 2 things: ivermectin and fenbendazole, which is Safeguard or Panicure in your feed store. And I kept researching it, but I couldn't find and I wanted to do it, but I didn't know how much to take. You know, whether you could overdose on it or how much, you know, I had no clue. Well, so I ended up going through 6 weeks of chemo and radiation, and in the meantime, our daughter, my stepdaughter, Danielle Morgan, had been battling breast cancer, which metastasized and went all through her body, and we lost her 2 years ago in this coming February. So while I'm battling it, she's battling it too, and she was really bad. And when Darren, her son-in-law, my son-in-law, come home with a formula from a woman with a formula. I don't want to mention her name, but you probably would know her if I told you. And she had a formula to take it. I started on it immediately, as did Danielle, but it was too late for her. She was so sick she couldn't take it. I started on this. I took it for 6 months, every day. In 6 months, a year ago, December, I had a totally clean report.
What?
Totally clean. That was PET scan last December. I've had 3 CT scans since then, and they cannot believe it. My radiologist says there's no way. He gave me no chance of surviving. Every time I see him, he says, "You happen to belong to a man that never smoked."
Wow. And you did that.
And it's an and if I can give somebody this story and you can save somebody else, that's more important to me than talking about what I did 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because this is talking about real life today. We have a woman in our church that came in, has MS since year 2000. That's 23 years, going on 24, 12 years in a wheelchair. She is starting to walk after taking ivermectin and bendazole.
Wow.
The first time in 23 years, she's getting better instead of worse. It's not just cancer ivermectin is good for. It's good for Lyme disease. It's good for many diseases. Research it. Don't take my word for it. But I'm willing to help anybody that needs healing in some way, because I just seen so much. Cancer is something, that's something somebody else gets. It's not I don't get it, somebody else gets it. You know what I'm saying? We have that mentality. We're never going to get anything because we're above it, I think. That's the way I felt. But when I got it, I had been healed of different things before. I wasn't really scared. I thought it would be petrifying, but I wasn't scared at all. To tell you the truth, I got a faith in God that He's going to bring me through this one way or the other. You know, and I still have that faith. And I see.
And I am so blessed having some of these people around me, and you and Dave and Gary, and there's other people we wanted here too that couldn't make it, but for my rodeo career and some of my mentors, and that's why you're kind of included in here. But I kind of wanted to start out with my very first hero, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, is Dave Montier. And it started out, we was a little kid. Dave's wife used to babysit us, and I was probably 5, maybe 6 years old. I remember going into the house when they just moved up to Lima, and there was a picture of Dave on his very first bareback horse, because I remember this as I asked him about it, and I don't know if he remembers much about it, but I was so intrigued with that picture, the bareback ride, and I asked him, I said, did you win first on that? And he said, no, I double grabbed. And I said, well, what do you mean you double grabbed? Well, and I remember that picture, like seeing it sitting here in front of me. The horse had kind of lunged out of there and didn't rear out or anything. It just turned and ran, and he had reached down and double grabbed his rigging. It was hanging on with 2 hands, and I just remembered being so intrigued with that, and then being able to follow him around and going to Lima Rodeo and stuff like that, and watching him ride, And so Dave was my very first hero. I think even before Superman, because after Superman come around, I tried to put my cape on and jump off my double bunk bed, and that didn't work so pretty good. But so Dave kind of got me started, and then as I got going, and Dave, and then Eddie Phillips, and then Gary Sikoria started hauling me and getting me going. I think Dave took me to my very first Loretta Lynn Longhorn rodeo back. I was still in high school, and it was, I don't know, February or something. It was a nasty snowstorm. We drove down to Salem, Roanoke, Virginia, I believe it was. And Dave drove me down there. That was my very first one, I think, in Loretta Lynn rodeo. But Gary took me to my very first IPRA rodeo, as IRA back then, down in Annapolis, Maryland, and Triple K rodeo, and I couldn't believe it. It was in early springtime, because I remember leaving here in the snowbanks and then going down in Maryland, and they had all kinds of blossoms on the apple trees, and I couldn't believe the weather was so much nicer down that far. And I wound up winning the bareback riding on a horse I'd never rode before, an old crazy
Mike.
horse. And then after Gary kind of helped me get going, and I jumped into the truck with Darryl and started hauling with him and got bulldogging. And Darryl was the very first one that got me started steer wrestling. I went to my only rodeo school, and Darryl was the instructor for steer wrestling. So I got to give Gary all the thanks, Gary and then Darryl for getting me started in the steer wrestling. It was just. I just totally been blessed with this whole rodeo deal, and I never made much of a name for myself as far as being in the big head spotlights, but I gave it my try, and I give a run at them. But these are the guys that I'm impressed with, and so.
I think the biggest thing we taught you, Mike, me and Vern, was to look nice.
Yeah.
I tried.
Oh my God, you looked like a bum coming. They wouldn't tell you to place you at them IRAs. Once you got nice clothes on you, they started placing you. You had the talent. You just looked like a.
Well, I was a little old hick farm boy.
He was a little hick boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
that
went
was
to
funny.
was a
Picked at
not
him about it.
Yeah.
Winston-Salem, Mike. Remember, we met in Pittsburgh with Russ
Winston,
and that.
yeah.
Mike, one of his big rodeos, one of his first big IRA rodeos too, and we all hooked up in Pittsburgh and went down with Big Russ, and I think I did good in the bareback riding, but I don't think I did quite as good as Mike. Darryl, you and I need to sit down someday and add up all the money that Mike has taken from us over the years. If we had that money, we would never have to work another day. You know?
Yeah.
I said, Mike, you could come, but you don't have to beat me out. Or well, he said, no, we just tied. I said, okay.
Yeah.
But no, Mike, how could I say this? But Mike is something else. I can't even start to get into it right now because I'm looking at Dave Mintier. And I'm flashing back. Rodeo was always a dream of mine, and then it kind of went away because Jim Eskew, they didn't come to Rochester anymore. So there was a rodeo coming up. There was a young cop, and I seen the sign that said Rochester War Memorial Rodeo, and it might have been the first Loretta Lynn rodeo that they ever brought there. It had to be, 67?
Yeah, must have been 67 right around
it
there.
was-
Because my daughter was just a little baby,
Yeah.
and she got to meet Loretta Lynn, and that's her name.
Yeah. So anyway, I went to that rodeo, and like we talked about before, I'd always had that dream and always thought about being at at a rodeo, but how do you get going up here? So anyway, I go to that rodeo, and there was hands from all over the country, and then they said, and next rider is Dave Mintier, and I said, boy, it sounds familiar, and I think you were just starting to shoe horses, and your name was getting around, and I think we all talked about maybe being in horse shows when we were young, because there were no rodeos, and I had a game horse, and Darryl, I know you did down in your country. Your Uncle Johnny, he was a hell of a hand. But anyway, getting back to that night at that rodeo, I said the next bareback rider is Dave Mentier from Dave. I think they said Hemlock at the time, Hemlock, New York, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I said, it's a local guy, So he come on, he drew a little Palomino, and I'm right at the end of the arena, and he drew a little pretty good jump and kick Palomino horse, and he started spurring him. Come halfway straight on to me, like it was somebody was shooting an arrow at me, and he came right to the wall, and I could see Dave's face, and I said, yeah, that's the look I want, that guy, he's really trying,
Scared, wasn't trying.
He looks like he's having a blast, and then right at the end of the ride, he come off and rolled in the dirt a little bit and got up, and as he's getting up, and I'm clapping like crazy because now this is my hometown hero, So and that was great, and I never got a chance to tell Dave that story, but I've relived it many times in my life. And I was on the way to the academy. I was showing some horses at the time, and I'm on the way to police academy. This was just early, let's see, 67, 68, early 69. Spring of 69, we had like an in-service training on Scottsville Road in Rochester. I'm all in uniform, pretty much still a rookie cop. And I walk in to get a cup of coffee just before the academy. And I'm walking back to go to the bathroom, and I see a little table full of guys, and at least one guy had a cowboy hat on, And the other guys, I just glanced at him. I'm glancing at everything when I'm walking around. And so I glanced at that table, and I could tell they were guys that probably were horse guys, So I come out of the bathroom as I'm going by this table. This guy in the cowboy hat kind of tugs on my shirt a little bit, my uniform, and I turn around, I look at him, and I recognize him. And I knew he was maybe a bronc rider, a steer wrestler, and he turned out to be a clown, literally. So he said, hey, you going to the rodeo tonight in Lima? I said, well, as a matter of fact, I live right in Avon, and I get out of the academy at 4. I said, yeah, we're going to go tonight. He said, well, I've seen you at a couple of horse shows, and I heard your name when you grew up, and I knew you were a good athlete. He said, why don't you rodeo? I said, rodeo? How the heck would I ever start in a rodeo around here? He said, well, you said you're going to Lima Rodeo tonight. And I go, yeah. I said, I'm going there to watch with my wife and 2 little babies, He said, we're really short on riders. He said, a bunch of guys from Canada were coming, and they called. They got in trouble not trouble, but they had trouble crossing the border. Believe it or not, we didn't, our borders aren't like they are now. So anyway, he said, why don't you come down and I'll get you in the rough stock events. I go, gee, I don't know about that. I said, I kind of leaned down and kind of whispered to him, not whisper, but I said, it's kind of always been a dream of mine, And he goes, well, come on down, we'll make your dream come true. He said, ask for Danny McWilliams or Tom Parker. I said, okay. So I go to the academy that day, and I cannot concentrate. Thank God we didn't have to shoot or do anything like that because my mind was strictly on that rodeo that night in Lima, which was virtually 5 miles from my home. And now I'm excited. So I said, I got to make a phone call at lunch. So I had a little horse rider named Phil Spade, good guy. And he grew up in that Edgerton Park area, Pepe opening the bar, getting in a rodeo gang. I called Phil, and I said, hey, Phil. He said, what? I said, we're going to the rodeo tonight, right? And he goes, yeah, we'll be at your house about 6:30. I said, no. I said, hey, Phil, they're short on rough stock riders. Do you want to ride? He goes, yeah. So I said, well, meet me at my house at 5 o'clock. So I get through the rest of the day and at the academy, and then I rush home. And I told Linda, I said, all right, I said, get the kids ready. We're going to the rodeo. What do you mean? It's 7 o'clock. I said, we got to be there at 6. She said, for what? I said, the contestants got to be there at 6. She goes, well, yeah, but you're not a contestant. I go, well, I am tonight. And she said, you got to be kidding me. I said, I swear to God. I said, this guy, Danny McWilliams told me, you can do it. At the time, I was in really good shape. He said, I just got a feeling that you could do it, you know. And so anyway, we proceed down to Lima. I get I get these brand new jeans and I put them on, a brand new pair of boots and a new hat, a new shirt. Man, I thought I was really something, you know. Just look like a little gunsel, you know. So I get home. So we pack up the girl. We pick up the 2 little girls, and we're going to the rodeo. And I can remember on Clay Street, you know, and Dave was one of the builders, and God rest Gary Patterson. You know, we just lost him.
Yeah.
But he was a Lima rodeo guy, you know. And God rest his soul. He was a good man and a good pickup man.
Good man.
Yeah. So anyway, I get to the rodeo grounds. And it says parking to the right. There's a little kid flagging it down, and I have my cowboy hat on. So I see contestant parking, and the kid flags me on. I go, holy Christ. So I pull up, and he says, what do you ride in? I go, gee, I'm just here to see Tom Parker or Danny McWilliams. They told me to be here at 6 o'clock, maybe for an exhibition ride. And he said, okay. So I'll just park over there with the other contestants and walk up to the buck and chutes and ask for Tom Parker. So I did that. I'll fast forward a little bit. Tom Parker was very gracious. He said, okay. He said, yeah, I got your name scribbled down there. You a cop from Rochester? I go, yeah. He said, okay, so you've got moonshine. I go, I do? What do you mean? What does that mean, I got moonshine? You know, and he goes, that's the bull, a little black bull. You got a good bull. I go, I want to ride the bucking horses. He said, well, before you do that, he said, we're all filled up. He said, you got to ride a bull. I go, oh, man, I didn't plan on this. I wanted to go pet a horse, you know, jump on him, get bucked up and get the hell home. I literally didn't sign up to be a bull rider. So now he throws me a curveball. He goes, I go, I don't have any equipment. I don't have a glove. I don't have a bull rope or a rig. I have nothing, you know. I said, I got the cowboy hat, and I kind of look like a cowboy, but I'm looking at these guys, and I'm not so sure anymore. Pants are dirty.
Question.
Yeah.
Do you still think Tom Parker was gracious?
At that moment, he was.
Oh.
Well, he saw somebody that was going to get on a horse for him or a bull. But no, Tom was fine. You know, he pointed me toward Danny McWilliams, and Danny was more than gracious. And he brings me over this little snot 13-year-old kid from my old neighborhood in Rochester to give me a bull rope and spurs. And he looked up at me, little guy. He said, what do you want? I go, well, I guess I need a bull rope. I've got a bull, and said something about spurs, and okay, so he goes through this little rigging bag and begrudgingly kind of gives me this stuff, you know. He goes, okay, well, when the bulls come in, then I'll be over and give you a hand. You know, I said, but until then, what do I do? He goes, do whatever you want. Yeah, it's Donnie Crowder. I want to slap him so hard and rock his freaking world, because he's a little guy in my neighborhood that I grew up in that, you know, is not showing any respect. So, and I grew up in an area where you had to show respect. So anyway, he gives me everything, and I'm in the buck and chutes here. Here comes one of my heroes, Dave Mintier, and he's got a little buddy with him that turned out to Eddie Phillips, who couldn't be with us today. You know, Eddie was I think it was his first or second year maybe. Dave, you know, had been riding for a few years and doing well. He was our champion, ERA champion, bareback rider. So, of course, we looked up to him. And then Eddie was right on his tails. You know, that's number one and number two, you know. So if you're going to do anything, you got to beat these guys, you know. But anyway, so I get ready. I get behind the chutes, and I think I run into Ward. And I said, hey, I'm in this bull riding thing. And Danny McWilliams, he goes, oh, Danny's over there. Now, I hadn't seen Danny in makeup, you know? And I'm looking around for Danny McWilliams, and he goes, he's right there. Hey, Danny. And so Danny picks up his head, and he looks up, and he goes, you made it here. I go, yeah, I'm supposed to be on a horse. You got me on a bull. He goes, well, that's the way things work out. Okay. I've seen enough bulls buck at rodeo, so I'm pretty strong guy, and maybe I can stay on for. I was hoping to stay on for a couple of seconds, you know. Maybe some of you just grab a quick picture, you know. My wife gets to see me with the two little girls. Now they throw me a curveball. There was a radio guy that was from our cowboy station, cowboy western station, country western, that really wanted to be a cowboy, you know. But Larry Hunter, and I'm going to mention your name, Larry. I hope you're out there because you really got me going here. So Larry Hunter all week said he's going to ride a bull on Saturday night or Friday night. So the big publicity, everybody's here to see this freaking Larry Hunter. So I'm getting the bulls in the chute, and the guy comes. I forgot who it was, and he goes, "Okay, this is Dave Minteer's bull. This is Ward Mitchell's bull. This is Larry Hunter's bull. Larry?" And I go, "No, Gary. No, Larry." I go, "Gee, is there any Larry Hunter?" I go, "I'm not Larry. I'm Gary Sikoria." He goes, "No." He said, "Larry Hunter's on Moonshine, the featured bull and our featured telecast, whatever he was, DJ." So I said, Jesus, if I'm going to ride this bull, I mean, he's got snot all over him, one banana horn, another hand, looking back at it, a good-looking bull. But he was big, he was black, there was flies all over him, shit all over him. I mean, he was just, I said, wow, man. But I got my heart, I'm saying, this is your dream, stupid. You're here. You got to give it a chance. Give it a try. I know you wanted a horse, but you got a bull. So now Danny does come over, and I recognize him. And now he puts guys around me that aren't busting my chops, okay? They're going to pull Bob Tierney, the guy's name. Do you remember Bob Tierney?
Yep.
Darryl, you remember Bob Tierney?
No, I don't remember that name.
Yeah,
no.
he was a big guy. He was a fireman, right, Dave?
I don't know. I can remember the name.
Yeah,
but I
Bob
can't
Tierney.
put it.
Yeah, big guy, black shocky hair, good guy, new rodeo, not a hand. Okay, guys that would enter and ride, and God love him. He was not a hand. He was a great guy though. So anyway, but he knew how to pull a bull rope, and so and this bull is just blowing up. So as he's pulling the rope, I don't, something just clicked in my mind that, man, you want to ride this thing. You just don't want to be frickin' Larry Hunter. Just go try to ride this bull. And the guy grabbed I think it was Bucky Dodge. Remember Bucky?
Oh yeah, Bucky, good man.
He was, He was
Good
kind
guy,
of a hand. He did different things. Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, so he was like, the bull was pushing me a little bit, and he grabbed my arm. He goes, "Holy Christ!" He goes, "I think you could ride this bull. Just make sure you pull up and get your chest out, the whole thing, a couple simple little things." And then I just said in my mind, and I know we've all had this feeling, but this would have been a dream since I was 10 years old. And now I'm 23, and I said, I'm going to make the best of it. So outside, guys, all of a sudden this bull is just exploding, and I pulled him tight. He's exploding in my hand, you know, but for me, it was like if you watch an old 8mm movie that just kind of click, 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 and then boom, it catches on and you see the movie. That's when they opened that chute, on that first impulse was just click, 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 click. And then when his feet hit the ground, it was on. And all I just remember is pulling on that rope, turning my toes out like they said to do, squeezing, trying to just save my life, you know? And it was just, you talk about a rush. You know, I was a pretty good football player, stuff like that. This was the rush of my life. So anyway, all of a sudden, I hear my shoulders hit the dirt. My head slams into the ground. My pretty hat is all cowboyed up now, okay? And I get up, and when I hit the ground, the buzzer was buzzing. So I was there 7'5", 7'6", and I just felt great. So now when I walk over to the chutes, you know, the Darryl Lanes of the world, the Ward Mitchells, the guys that you look, Dave Mintiers, those type of guys are there, and now they kind of embrace me a little bit. Even little Crowder, come over and goes, "Hey man, you." I still wanted to slap him there. In fact, the next time I see him, he's getting it.
That's just normal for Danny.
Yeah. In fact, I love him. So anyway, the bug had hit me. And blasted me, And the next day I get on the bucking horse Big Red, and I ride him for 8 seconds. I didn't really know what a spur lick was, but they said, just keep your legs up around the shoulders to start. Well, that's all you can do. And then the next day I went and I rode his half brother. There was Big Red and Big what? They were both Big Red and Big Ed or whatever.
Yeah,
I rode him the following day.
I can't remember either.
You remember the Big Red horse, though?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dave, who started you? Who were your big influences? Do you remember?
No, I just wanted to do it so bad, so anybody that would. But going back to what Mike had to say, I can remember when them guys, Mike, Sam, and Danny were little fellas, and his dad and his uncles, I think, they put on Little Britches rodeos at their place. And anyway, I got the job of judging, and Mike rode good, so I marked him good. Sam bucked off. He had a hat come down over his head and a big smile on his face. So I said, that guy's going to be a bronco. And Danny, I marked him somewhere, and but he's the one that told me in a roundabout way that I'm not going to be judging any rodeos.
Especially a swearing.
He come up crying, a little boy crying, and wanted to know why he didn't win. I said, So right then and there, I decided I wasn't going to judge many rodeos.
Even if he wanted to.
Right. And then go back to what Mike was saying, that Loretta Lynn rodeo, or Gerry was saying, I guess. That was the first one, a big one I ever went to, too. And he was saying I got bucked off that first one after he turned. Well, I got bucked off 3 of them. We got 3, and I got bucked off 3 of them.
It was 3 head there?
Yeah, there were 3 head there every night, I think. It was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I think. Or something. Yeah. But I know I got on 3, and I didn't get the tutor on any of them.
That was a good trip, though. It was, the snowstorm.
Oh, yeah,
it wasn't so good you had to drive in that snowstorm.
Yeah.
That was bad. That was bad.
Yeah. We had to shovel the snow out of the driveway to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
And then Darryl, he got me started steer wrestling. I went to that rodeo school that Gerry and Larry Moriarty, and there's a couple other guys that had been riding, and they had the deal set up to where if you entered 3 events in that school, you could get the 4th one free. I said, well, I was already going to the 3 rough stock deals anyway, so I got hooked up into the steer wrestling, and Darryl and Ward and Fred Marty and all them guys, they helped, and that was I got some out of the school as far as the rough stock. I got a little bit about the timing and the bronc riding and the bareback riding and stuff, but the biggest thing I got out of there was learning how to steer wrestle and learning how to handle your body, and it's not the weight and the size, it's the style that you use. And Darryl probably he was a big, tall, lanky drink of water, and I'm a little short, sawed-off squirter. I weighed 126 pounds at that time when I started learning, and he just taught me how to shape cattle. And we had some pretty sorry cattle back then, didn't we? We had Herefords and little sawed-off Herefords and stuff like that. But so Darryl's kind of really got me going on that part of it, and so. When when he started hauling, we got some pretty good wild stories, but so what do you think, Darryl? I mean, that's
well, when you first started going with me, I tried to get you to drive, and you wouldn't drive over 50 miles an hour.
No.
Yeah.
Well, long he wanted to go 90 all the time.
Yeah, Gerry, I hauled with Gerry for a little bit. That kind of changed the tune a little bit. Gerry being a cop, and when you get stopped doing 92 mile an hour, he'd show his badge and they'd let us go. So, if Gerry can do it, I can do it.
We flew.
Yeah. No.
We had to make some thunder runs sometimes. It was pretty tight going sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
But Mike talks about technique, and and this is just my opinion. But and I've seen a lot of good bulldoggers, I mean, Jack and Red and all those guys. But technically speaking, you probably one of the best technical steer wrestlers that I've known. As far as technique and teaching technique and just showing the right way to get that to get the inside horn to your back pocket and turning your feet and shaping the cattle. I mean, it's all in leverage. I mean, like Mike said, he was never the biggest guy, but he was several times the best guy. At his size.
It's easier for him to get up on his feet than it is a bigger guy.
Right.
You got a short body, but the whole thing is getting their head down around your waist where you can get some leverage down when they come around. If you leave their head way up high, you've got no leverage.
No, and they're
Get it
stronger
down
than
by
you.
the waist, you can use your whole upper body to throw them. That's where the whole key is.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing about it. And you got to get yourself in a position to do that.
Yeah.
And another thing that I see today, none of these guys out west use their right foot to get to that head. They ride that saddle horn to the head. If that steer checks off a little bit,
Boom.
They can't catch him. But if you release that saddle horn a little bit earlier and cock that right foot in that stirrup and let it drag it to the head, it's so much easier to catch them. It makes it easy compared to
And bump that right arm right down their side till you get to that horn, and then bulldog.
Yeah, you see them reaching for that right horn. You can't do that.
No.
It'll come to you. Leave it down.
It'll come to you if you get your arm in the right position. Yeah.
Right. There's so many little things that we had to learn how to bulldog set up cattle out here. You couldn't win no money because we couldn't replace them. Out west, they used to get bad ones and they'd replace them. Here, you had to deal with them all.
Yeah, they got
That's
names.
the way it was, So you better learn to catch them.
Yeah. Yeah. Another little story I'm going to tell on Darryl that we're going to have to go back because now I just lost my train of thought. That's what happens when you get old.
That happens when you get old. Hey, yeah, and you're still a baby.
No, what it was is we were in the ERA, and it happened to be, I think, one of the first years I started going at all, and Darryl was leading the all-around race, and I was right there with him. And whether he was first or second, I don't know, but I remember we entered Sequoia Rodeo, and at Dickie Barrett's down there, and Darryl happened to be judging because he broke his leg. I think, what'd you do? Break it roping calves or something, stepping off?
No, calf or horse fell out of me at home.
Oh, but anyway, I remember going to that rodeo, and it was getting towards the end of the season, and I'm thinking, oh, and I didn't know Darryl at this time. I didn't know Darryl except for knowing and seeing him and knowing kind of who he was. I really hadn't even met him at that point, because this was even before the school or anything. And,
So what year are you talking, Mike?
I think it was 72.
Okay.
Somewhere in there, because I was still in high school.
That'd be 70. I think it was 73. 72, I did win the all-around.
Okay, it was 73 then. It was my senior year.
I think it was 73. I think it was this. on the horse, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. So anyway, Darryl's judging rodeo, and I remember thinking to myself, if he gets me at the gate, or Darryl's very easily, because the judging at some of these things back when we were growing up wasn't the greatest.
No.
And
Terrible.
but Darryl Lane's judging. He's leading the all around, and I'm catching him. He's got a broke leg. He ain't going anymore. and and I'm thinking to myself, oh boy,
I'm done.
I'm done, because I'm going to get cheated on, and well, Darryl, I wound up winning one or two events, did really well, and from that moment on, I had a whole different outlook on the cowboys going up and down the road that were helping each other, because Darryl, he was fair and honest with the judging, and I wound up winning the all-around that year, but it was only because Darryl was running around in a cast, but
Oh, I don't know about that.
So now you're talking 73. Right?
yeah,
No,
yeah,
73.
73, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I believe the first ARA rodeo you went to, you played.
Did you all climb in the same truck?
Not
always.
No.
Not at that time, no.
No, me and Gary traveled. Me and Dave traveled a little bit together, and me and Gary traveled, and then me and Darryl. And it was at different stages in my career
Yeah.
of where Dave really kind of started me going. Couple, and following him around a little bit, and then Gary taught me how to go fast in the car, how to get to a rodeo.
We got the rodeo.
Yeah. And then when I started traveling with Darryl was just really, and there was one thing I told Darryl right to his face one day when I had just first started make the IFR and stuff. I told Darryl, I says, he was good enough to qualify. If he wanted to go hard enough to the IFR, he could make it. He had the ability, he had the horsepower. All he needed to do was leave the farm and go. But
You talking about Darryl?
yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
and I think Darryl had the ability, if he wanted to go hard enough, to win it. If he wanted to go. But that's back here. It was not heard of, and it was impossible to go. And especially Darryl owned a dairy farm back then, and
not
him
going
and his
anywhere.
dad. So
It's hard to when you got a family and kids and stuff just to say, well, I'm going to throw it all away and go rodeo.
Yeah.
yeah, and see, and that's kind of partly when I got started, I was still in high school, just getting out. I got married the day I graduated out of high school, which.
And the day after, he went to rodeo with me.
But
But
you
the
know,
first ARA rodeo that I believe Mike went to, I was judging, and he went to bareback ride.
What, ARA, he said?
Yeah, ERA.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the first one I ever seen him at, I was judging, and he went to bareback ride.
yeah, but and that was
I didn't know.
yeah, and that was
I didn't know him. I knew his dad, but I didn't know him.
yeah, and kind of the same way. I knew your Uncle John,
Right.
when I was a little bitty
Well,
kid.
your dad and my uncle were friends.
Right, real good
I
friends.
knew your dad.
Traded horses, traded lies, cheated each other.
Right.
No, but
Yeah.
no, but I really think that in the whole gamut of things, getting started was, following Dave around when we were little kids. Dave would come over to the house. Dad built an arena. Him and Dave would come over. They'd practice roping. They had goats. They roped goats and tried to bulldog a little bit, and bought me a little bucking pony. And so that's really as far as getting everything kicked off. I mean, as far as that goes, it was Dave, and then everybody else that has helped me along the way, and even like with Gerry, I traveled with him, and I was itching to get out and do a lot more. And Gerry went up and talked to Jack Wiseman about me getting in his truck with him, and I didn't know. I was too shy and scared to talk to Mr.
I had to
Rodeo.
drag him over there.
Yeah.
I said, "You see that truck?"
Yeah.
Jack asked me, Darryl, you knew Jack. Yeah, Jack was just a different kind of guy. I've known a lot of tough guys in my life. He's
that?
probably the toughest. Jack Wiseman.
Wiseman?
Yeah.
Jack, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can remember me and Mike went to a rodeo above Toronto. Laval or something like that.
We talked a bit before that.
It was supposed to be
The biggie.
third largest rodeo in the North America that year with like 1,000 events.
Yeah.
Well, the contractor backed out at the last
we
minute,
know. Yeah, I know.
and it went open. Well, here me and Mike go. We get up there, and Jack White and all the boys, Carl Deaton, the Bulldoggers, they're all there, and there's 10,000 event added.
Yeah,
This is a long road.
Yeah.
And Mike, he's winning everything in the bronc riding and the bull riding, and and I don't know how many performances was that, like
I think
10 performances?
I think there was at least 10 performances.
It was crazy, and every performance, I win the first go in the calf roping, I was second go, and I win third go in the calf roping. On the worst calf in the pen, I was winning the average by like 30 seconds. I had 2 more to run, and Mike had all this money won, and we'd go cash our check every night. We'd go cash it. Well, some of them, like Jimmy Myers, never cashed a check.
Oh no, no, Jimmy. No, that's not true.
Cashed the first one.
We cashed the first one. We split the bareback riding, me and Jimmy, the first go.
Oh, he did cash the first one?
Yes. I went and I became Jimmy Myers for a couple minutes. Okay, so I go to the promoter. I get the check. I get the 2 checks. Gerry Sikoria, Jimmy Myers.
Yeah.
So I go and I see.
Run off with the money.
Well, yeah. So I see on, and I had a little inside info if things were going sour. So I jumped in the car.
Okay.
Jimmy was gone. He was back to New Jersey. He said, "Just bring my check with you." So I said, "Oh boy, this not going to work." So I went to the bank and cashed both checks. So we both got our go round money. And after that, I said, "This thing is going to hell in a handbasket." And
Yeah, it did.
and I left. I had to go somewhere else, but probably home.
Anyways, we get up in the morning, we find out it's been canceled. Well, we got a Carlo, we got Jack Wiseman, Carl Deaton,
Don Caffell.
we got Don Caufel, and there's me, and there's one other big son of a bitch in there. And they're going to go find a promoter. They want me to go in. I said, holy shit, I'm the little guy in here. I don't need to go. But we never found him, but we took a ride around town.
Yeah. He's. I think he's still missing.
Yeah, he could be.
That was something else.
Yeah.
Big, tough guys in with me,
No, man, you had some of the toughest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Jack. Yeah. So anyway, back to the story though. So then I told Jack, I said, "Look at this kid, Jack. I work full time, and I got a full time family, and I go to weekends and wherever I go. Well, you enter Mike and pretty much everything, and he's doing great. Yeah." He said, "I don't know. He's a young guy." I go, "Yeah, I know, but he won't be any problem." I said, "Just put him in the truck and get him to the freaking finals." You think he can make it to the finals? I said, "Whatever. If you put him in the truck and he works like I know he'll work, he'll make it to the finals." I don't know if
Well,
you did that year. How many events, Mike?
For
right.
Yeah, okay. There you go. So I guess thank you for validating, my what I told the guy what you were going to
Well,
be.
actually, 2 years prior to all that, I had wound up 16th in the saddle bronc riding, and that was my worst event. I mean, I was not a good bronc rider. I mean, I could get by them, but I wound up in the IRA 16th, and they called me, and somebody got hurt and wanted to know if, kind of towards the last minute, if I wanted to go out and ride in broncs. I said no. I said I didn't make the top 15. I'm not going. And then the year after that, it was kind of the same situation, but I think I wound up 15th, but it was only in the saddle bronc ride, and I just said, no, it's going to be too much money for me to go out and be in bronc riding against some guys because I'm not that good of a bronc rider. And then it was the year after that I made it in all 4 events. And,
Okay.
And it was, I'll tell you what, I was so blessed. My parents went out and Dave went out, and it just tickled me to death that the guy that started me was able to go out and see my first IFR and do it in 4 events and be there. And
Well, Mike, you're giving everybody credit for it, and that's great. But we didn't make you. You made yourself. Well, all we did was try and help you and point you.
yeah,
Because you're the one that worked at it, like Gerry worked at it. I worked at it. We all worked at it. We worked at get where we were.
Yeah.
It didn't just happen.
No, and that's the whole thing, what I'm saying is, all you guys that did the stuff before me that helped me along, you passed the education, you passed the knowledge of stuff on to me, and if I didn't have that behind me, I would have been just an also ran anyway, which I am, but I'm old has been. But it was. I guess my biggest disappointment in the whole thing. And I got in trouble in Oklahoma for saying this to an announcer that did pre-announce or pre-rodeo announcements and interviews and stuff like that. It was out in Oklahoma. Announcer says, "Well, Mike," he says, "now the great Dan Daly grew up and me and Dan Daly were going head to head for years. He had won the all around. He worked 4 events, 5 events sometimes, same events that I did." And grew up in Buckley, Washington, and left there. And he moved to Florida, and then he went back to Oklahoma. And the announcer says, "Now, the great Dan Daly, you're competing against," he says, "he moved to Oklahoma so he could get to more rodeos and stuff like that." And I was out there quite a bit. And he says, "Do you have any intentions or any plans of doing anything like that so you can get to more rodeos easier?" And I looked at him, I said, "No." I said, "I plan on being the first New Yorker to win the all-around." I says, "I'm going to be the first one from New York State to win the all-around." And my wife told me, she says, "That was a dumb mistake." She says, "You could have heard a pin drop in that audience out there."
But true.
But that was my goal. I wanted to win the all-around and be from New York State to show them that, the Cowboys were from anywhere if they had the heart and they had the drive, and these guys still did. But by the time I got done, I didn't do anything in the horse riding, didn't do anything in the saddle bronc riding and bareback riding. But I wound up winning the bull riding on a bull that they'd never rode. Rode him to a standstill. This contractor was screaming at me to get off. I think I was 89 points on one, and my knee was so screwed up that I couldn't get off of him, and it wound up stopping. And I thought she was going to shoot me out back, but no, that was my.
They thought they were shooting the bull.
That was my biggest regret, is not being able to pull it off. And there was a couple of years I certainly should have, and it just didn't have the finals to finalize it, And it's just the way it was. But I think that was God's way of trying to keep me a little bit more humble than I would have been. So
Yeah, it could be a little political, believe me.
Oh, please.
It's pretty political.
I said it for years, and I'm not. I don't pretend to be Mike's cheerleader, but I know what I see. I know what I went down the road with.
Yeah, me too. I've been there.
That's what I'm saying. And if there was an OKLA, Oklahoma, behind his name for 5 or 6 years there when he was going hard, it would have been a different story. I'm just telling you. Or a TX. I mean,
nobody had any more try than Mike.
Yeah.
That's right.
He had the biggest try of anybody I've ever been around.
Right. He had all the try in the world.
Yeah.
And but it's just, it was political. You could see it.
I felt it.
It was evident,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
You know, and I hate to talk that way. I hate to think it that way, but we all wish it was perfect.
Yeah.
Well, it has changed so much because I remember kind of first starting, and you had old Mike Waters and stuff talking about it going down to like Cimarron Ranch and some of them deals that were weekly deals where they get cheated or something, they'd burn the bleachers down or some silly thing like that, you know. But it has gotten a lot better. It has. But
I hope so.
Oh, yeah.
and I think, you know, guys, well, just like Dalen, for instance, you know, I mean, Dalen's stepped up and has had the ability. So I think that's a lot of that's starting to go away because they're using, and Bobby DeVecchio was the same. You know, when Bobby DeVecchio came along, being from the Bronx and New York City, they capitalized on that. But as soon as that kind of went by the wayside, it was, you know, back to the same thing. Yeah. And you just, so every once in a while, you know, if somebody comes along, they'll capitalize on being from a different part of the region, but it's still pretty much basically right there in the Texas, Oklahoma area, you know. But
And hey, and we all know there's real good cowboys there too.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. There's a lot of good.
Yeah, Jack. The best.
But they've got opportunities.
Yeah, they got
which we don't have the opportunities back here. A lot of it because of the weather.
Yeah.
And you know.
Yeah.
Some of those kids and sophomores, you get off, they know where they're going to college, and they're not going to pay a thing.
Yeah.
The recruit's so heavy down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different world there where you can rope or ride and do stuff all year, you know.
Yeah.
You got to go indoors when you get up north. Them guys in the Northwest even, they got to work at it in the winter.
Yeah.
Or I'll go south, one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Or
know.
Arizona, a lot of the ropers are spending the winters in Arizona.
Joe Beaver told me, he says, I admire them guys from the north because they had to work at it. I had good weather all year. He said they had to work twice as hard as I did to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a classic right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a good guy. He's a nice guy.
Yeah,
He could talk. Wow.
He was in Jack's truck there when I first started going for half a season or so.
He was?
Oh, was it?
Joe was, but yeah. So
I didn't know that.
so I got to Jim White.
Must have been an eye-opening.
Oh yeah. Well, when I first got in Jack's truck. I mean, and most of the time I was one of the littlest guys there between me and Jimmy Myers. So we got, you know, and then we had Sam Patoos and some of them little bull riders. We get jammed up in the overhead of that camper and get stuffed in there, and them big bulldoggers had the big bottom seat. So, but yeah, we kind of stayed quiet, you know, but. Yeah, there was a lot of tough hands, boy, when Jack hauled. He hauled. And a lot of them turned out to be PRCA world champions, not even just IPRA, but, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of credit, you know, to Jack and that for hauling me, too.
Yeah. Yep. It's amazing.
I went,
Really.
that one year I went to in the ARA, I was picking up and I was bulldogging, but I didn't have a bulldogging horse, so I mounted this guy's horse that was there every week. Well, yeah, I might as well have been riding a pony. I mean, then we came to Gettysburg and Jack was there, and you got me on Jack's horse, and I won second.
Yeah.
You know, all year I hadn't won a dime.
Oh, floppy?
Yeah. No, it was before Floppy.
Before Floppy.
But yeah.
No,
I
you
remember
did
that.
good,
That was
good horses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Dave was the one that got me to buy my first bulldogging horse. It was a guy by the name of Barry Rosen, lived down there in Bronx.
Just died?
He had that red horse, and the only thing that horse was good for is you got on him, rode him in a box, and you got off and you bulldogged. And that horse would make the same tracks every time. But boy, I'll tell you what, he was a lunatic. And I bought him from Barry. I met him in halfway. We met in Binghamton, and I give him $500 for the horse. But the horse was probably 18, 20 years old. And the horse had to have been registered at one time, but he came through with no papers, so I don't know how. But anyway, that horse, I can't remember who I told. Was it maybe it was Donnie Crowder or somebody that mounted him at some small rodeo? And I says, you lead him in the arena, you take him down to the bulldogging box, you get on him, you ride him in the box. Do not ride him around and warm him up because he's going to run off with you.
I've seen that act.
Yeah. After the third time around the parking lot with him screaming his brains out, they're calling him to go in the bulldogging box, and he's just going around and around the parking lot out there. He finally got him stopped.
Who was on him?
I think it was Donnie Crowder.
Oh, Donnie. Well, Donnie couldn't ride a stick horse to water. I love it.
Well, whoever, and I don't know if it was Donnie for sure, but I told him, because I wasn't there. I left the horse there for him to ride. Him and Tommy Margate was going to ride the horse. And I told him, do not get on that son of a gun until you're standing at the back, and then you get on him and ride him in the box, and he'll score, but he'll run, and he'll give you one chance, and if you don't, he won't slow down until his whiskers touch the back end. And that's the way he was. And I rode him, for a few years. But Dave's the one that told me that the horse was for sale. So, but yeah, and me and Dave both rode him a time or two before I bought him, and then we bulldogged off of him for a little bit till I got to hauling with Darryl, because I kind of wore him out there. We did one trip with a single horse trailer. Me and Joe Farley and Vern Edwards took off, and we went a bunch of miles. And we borrowed the trailer from Fred Marty, I believe. It was a little single horse. And when he come back, we went too many miles too hard, didn't unload him enough. And when I turned him back out in the pasture, he was a totally different horse. He was just, so I wound up having to retire him. But but he was pretty good. But yeah, we had some good times.
Old Red, huh?
Yeah, Old Red. So, but yeah.
Well,
And then we got on Flop. And then we had Flop and we had Buttermilk as a team for a while. Yeah. Or Lippy. It was Lippy, wasn't it?
Lippy.
Darryl.
Lippy?
Yeah.
I had Lippy. I had him for a while.
Yeah. We rode Lippy, and you had Lippy and Buttermilk. You hazed off Buttermilk. And he had another horse there, too, that you'd switch back and forth. It wasn't very fast leaving the box, but boy, could score, and you could almost park her at the strap, and then just, because we were running so many setup steers, you didn't want something that was real fast.
Well, where we'd go pull out the old gray mare or something if we needed it.
Yeah, we'd park her there. And
I had the bay horse that my uncle sold out from underneath me. He owned them. We're supposed to be partners. I sold the Tom Margate the bulldog on.
Old Brown.
Brown, it would buck your ass off in a heartbeat.
He loved the buck more than Oh. Yeah.
Well, he bucked Margate out and broke his spleen, first thing.
Oh,
and I'd hauled him and I made him into a bulldog. He never bucked for me. Never bucked once with me, and then my uncle just sold him out from under. We're supposed to split the profit. Well,
yeah.
And then he sent him up to you, and you put skid boots on him, which you never had, and he bucked you off in a rock pile.
Oh, that was a mess.
He's a bucker, wasn't he?
He was, and he absolutely loved it. I mean, he
could have been Brock of the Year.
Oh
boy.
yeah. Well, that horse, when John got him, he came from Dale Limeball. Dale Limeball had him. Yep, because I remember Dale and Opal. Opal was Dale's wife, and little Jonathan, which is my age. Me and Jonathan kind of same age. Well, Dale had started the horse, and he said that horse just loved to buck. And Dale was an evangelist. He was a traveling evangelist and went around. And I remember him telling this story at a church service one night. And Dale would say, the horse would just roll, and when he'd get up off the ground, he'd just clack him over his head. He just loved to do it. And he said Jonathan was on the horse one time, and Opal stepped out, and he said, just realized that Jonathan
would roll like that.
Oh.
He would roll like that, Mike.
Yeah.
He'd roll like that, and he'd be all 4 foot in the air, all 4 feet.
Yeah.
Right from a roll.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's
and I remember him telling that story. And then Jonathan was on there, and the horse went to bucking, And, you know, Jonathan was just a young kid. I mean, I don't think, if I remember right, Jonathan probably wasn't 10. And he was a big, stout horse. So he went to bucking, and I remember Opal just hollering out, "Jesus, make him stop." And he said, Old Brown just parked it right there, and Jonathan was able to step off him. But that's the way it was, you know. I mean, and then when we got him, yeah, the time I put them skid boots on him, I remember I put him on there, and Old Brown had such a personality. It was unbelievable. I remember looking to his right at his right hind, turning looking at his left hind. He waited, and I sat in the middle of him, and it was all over. he exploded. He went around there in a huge freaking rock pile, sitting at the edge of the parking lot, and he piled me up into them rocks. It was stinking hard. Oh, I said, I never did that again. Oh, my God.
I don't know who I got him from. I got him back. I don't know if I got him from Margate or what I got.
think
but
you
I
did.
ended up getting him.
I think you bought him after he kicked Tommy. When
Yeah,
you guys were up there
I
practicing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we hauled him quite a bit. Bulldogging him, headed steers on him, hazed on him. Never bucked one time with me. I sold him to Ward Mitchell. He hazed on and rope steers on him for years.
Yeah.
A good horse.
Yeah.
Tough. Probably the toughest horse I ever owned. Each time you could have hauled down the road.
You could have cut his
200,000 miles a year.
that horse. You
Still
could have
been
cut his
tough.
he could have cut his legs off and he wouldn't have limped. You know, I mean, he was a tough horse.
Oh, he was tough. Oh.
But heart,
Tough
every bit
one
of
I've
heart,
grown.
every bit of heart he had. We took
Oh,
a little jackpot. I can't remember who put it on up there. A little barrel race and play around, just getting started. And I remember they had a little open barrel race, and I took him in there, and he was handy, broke. I come back and I took my little whip, and he was headed home, and I reached up there and spanked him a couple times, and he just broke in two. And I mean, I wound up landing on my feet. He bucked me off. I landed on my feet, running alongside him. I said, well, he was giving me everything he had. He didn't need to get a stick took to him. But yeah.
Oh. All I can say is he never bucked with me, thank God.
Yeah.
Big rodeos and going west.
What's that?
Big rodeos and going west. Doug just wanted me to.
Big stop.
I guess when I was going, once I really got to going, me and Eddie Phillips, we were back when the North American Rodeo Commission was going on. They had the team deal, and I was going up to Ontario quite often, and I wound up making the team because I don't think the ARA at that time had joined the association to go. So the Ontario Rodeo Association belonged to the NARC, North American Rodeo Commission. So we went up to Calgary, and they had the team finals up there. And so there was, I think, 6 or 7 of us, the Donor Boys, Gary and Brian, and me and Sean McDonald, Eddie Phillips, and Sam, I think, was with us. And we went up there to that. And that was quite an experience. We just enjoyed that. And then coming back, when we left up there, we had entered some rodeos on the way back. I think we stopped in Nebraska and maybe Illinois or something. And that was a lot of fun. It was a good time. And then, of course, entering Cheyenne, at later years after PRCA opened up and stuff. Entered Cheyenne a couple of years and placed in steer wrestling in a short round up there, which I should have won the whole thing, but it was just the way things happened. I'd gone up there a couple of years, worked 4 events. The first year they didn't only let me in the steer wrestling and maybe the bronc riding. And then the next year I got in all 4 events. Then I met Ty Murray up there and talked to him. We were standing in the pay line, and he asked me what the heck I was doing. He says, I see you out there. He says, it's pretty handy. He says, how come I haven't seen you around before? And I said, I go to mostly IRAs and stuff, and told him who I was and where I was from. And he said, you need to get out of there. You need to go to the PRCAs. And I said, I've got a family and stuff, so it was kind of neat. But and then out in Sisters, Oregon, and some of them I really enjoyed going out there. Probably one of my best rodeos outside of maybe going to Saint Tite, Quebec. Probably one of my best rodeos was Lakeside, California, going out there to that, and kind of they were some good rodeos. I try not to miss the good ones that I did well at, but yeah, I think Pendleton is the one that I regret not entering. I never even tried to enter it, but Denver and some of them, we went to and did well. Didn't slam them, didn't make a killing, but enough I was respected when I got out of there. But yeah, so.
Yeah, Mike, you traveled a lot of miles, as we all did, and like you said, I taught you how to drive fast. Darryl probably taught you how to haul horses better than anybody could, and Jack, of course. Mike, when you were hauling with Jack, he had his dogging horse and his hazing horse with him, so he always had.
Always had.
How many in the truck?
Well, there were
Average.
always at least 7 guys in the truck, but we had 13 quite often. 13 guys in a single cab pickup with a camper on it, and we just stack in there. And like I said, it had the overhead, and you always had the 1-ton dually with a 454 in it, and a 150-gallon gas tank in the back of the bed underneath the
Gas.
Yeah, gas truck.
Underneath where?
Well, on your camper, it was more of a shell. So the tank was in the back underneath the bed in the back of the truck. So you had your bed built over top of off the box.
150-gallon tank.
150-gallon tank. So we
Now,
fill that bad boy
Mike's
up.
saying camper,
Yeah.
okay?
Well,
And people are thinking, oh, geez, these guys hauling a camper. That's kind of cool.
yeah.
Bathroom, shower.
Yeah,
wrong. You can make a little.
No, it was actually a
sauce.
shell. They had
It was a shell. It was a cap.
Yep,
big
it
cap.
actually bolted to the top of the box, so your whole box was empty, except for the fuel tank in there. And then we'd put the boards over the top of the box, and that was throw a mattress on that. That was our bed, and the overhead. Yeah, but yeah, we hauled 13 guys, and 7 or 8 of them guys were always big bulldoggers, so they took up twice as much room as they should have. But
That's all big IRA rodeo stuff, and Michigan, Jim Zinzer and Maggie, the Bar J, they just put on, I think, the best rodeos. I mean, 200. If you could set your watch, if you started at 8 o'clock, bareback riding, you nodded your head, at about 10:28, that rodeo was over. Hey, Jim would go like 2 hours. He'd like to keep it under 2.5 hours. He had some good little specialty acts that were boom, 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 in and out. When he came down to shoot, and if he looked at you, your hand better be in the rigging and nodding, because he wasn't going to wait for you. Even if you're running late. One day Eddie Prozier and I were late to a Zinzer rodeo, and I said, Eddie, we got to fly. And we did. We got on 90, and then down near Columbus, maybe not that far. And it was, you talk about, it was 7:30, and we still had probably 45 minutes to go. And I said, we're not going to, he's not going to wait for us. You know that. I mean, bareback horses are going to be loaded and ready to go, So we flew. And I think, actually, who was the cowboy that died that used to sing the bareback
Chris
rider?
Ledoux.
Chris Ledoux.
Chris Ledoux,
He
yeah.
wrote a song about being late for a
photo
rodeo.
finish.
Huh?
Song photo finish.
Yeah, photo finish.
Yeah.
Well, this was a photo finish, and we come wheeling in there, and I could see the bareback horses were loaded. My rigging bag is in the back. I pick up the rigging bag, and I told Eddie, I said, just stop the car right here. We're going to bail out, literally bail out, and give me a hand, So I bail out, and I'm running to the chutes, and I see Maggie up in the booth, and I'm putting my hand up in the air like, I'm here, and she said, okay, and I get down there and Jim's, all the bareback horses are loaded, the riggings are on. I drew a good horse, and I couldn't wait to get on him. So Eddie threw my rigging down. We pulled him down. I think there were, Mike, for that rodeo in mid-Ohio, there was probably 11 bareback riders. They had 2 sections. So Maggie told Jim, put him in the second section. So she was always gracious to us, and put him in the second section. Got out just in time. Eddie was in a terrible mood that day. I don't know what got into him. Well, maybe I do, but he was in a bad mood. But, and I love Ed Prozier. He's a true champion. Anyway, he just wasn't feeling it, whatever the deal was. I made a good bareback ride, not an outstanding bareback ride. I'd say, I don't know what I was. To me, it felt like a 21, 22-point ride. I didn't get tapped up, but I was okay, And the horse didn't blow up. He bucked down the arena. Everything he got on his Zinzers usually was going to buck. So they draw. He never, how can I put this? He never loved Eddie, but he respected him. I mean, we were fine. But Eddie drew the top of the herd. He drew a big black horse that bucked. He was an IFR horse, final horse. And Eddie said, I'm going to stick it to this big son of a buck. I go, okay. Literally stuck it to him. So he loads that big black horse up there, and I grab his saddle and throw it on, and we're getting ready to go. And I'll tell you what, I think Dan Daly was maybe winning it with 74, 75. Eddie went out there, and this horse, it was a small arena. It was one of those ones at a fairground type where it's the track, but the track was in good shape. The footing was good, but it was just you're going to buck 4 times, hit the fence, turn back, which can be cool if you tapped off. This big black horse, he come out there, and Eddie, he just pitched the rein, and that horse went to bucking. And he ripped it out of that big black horse. The horse hit the fence, did a little spin in the air. The whistle goes off. I go, oh no, please don't. He grabs the big black hat and he starts fanning the horse. Jim looked at me, Zinzer looked at me. He goes, you want to handle this or you want me to? I said, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. So he comes down. He won the rodeo. Well, we were both, I was splitting first and second when we left. He was winning it when we left. I think he was, back when 80s were hard to get, I think he was, 86, 87. Could have been, by today's standards, he could have been 90. I mean, the horse was, to me, was a 24-point horse almost, and I don't know how you ride one any better, and it was pretty. So that was a little story from mid-Ohio. Ohio was a great place. Rodeo, you went, Mike, mid-states.
Oh, yeah.
Mid-states. They had some good rodeo. They had some good cowboys. Jackie Eberts, Foley, those guys, Eddie Foley.
Yeah.
A lot of those Ohio boys were from Central Ohio. They were cowboys. They could ride. Jerry McCullough, they could ride, and they had some really good rodeos, mid-states. In fact, I went to their finals at Detroit. I'll tell you what, it was. You'd think you're at the IFR finals on a Saturday night. 3 nights in a row, bang, bang, bang. Indoor rodeo, well produced. I don't know if Ladding has something to do with it. Not positive, but it was mid-states deal. Real good rodeo in Detroit. I've been to Detroit before. It was one of the first big rodeos I went to. It was a Longhorn. That's when they dropped Loretta Lynn Longhorn. It was just Longhorn. And it was good rodeos. It was a lot of fun traveling. Traveling, like Michael will tell you, is all about who you're with, the cowboys. And 2 of my buddies that I grew up with on the west side of Rochester, and they were both younger than me, but they knew me. When I say neighborhood, I'm talking a 2-3 block area, small little neighborhood, Italian, Irish, German, kind of what they call Dutch town great place. And that's where the rodeo was, Edgerton Park. Anyway, Russ Romano, big Russ, a few years younger than me, but always a big guy, a big athlete. Russ Romano, my opinion, if he would have started rodeoing like at a young age, he was when we were kids. I mean, he was an All-American in football. He was 6'2" before you made an Italian 6'2". Okay, he was just a big 6'2", 235-pound guy. No exposure to horses. Fast forward, I had a barn up in Leroy. He heard that we hadn't seen each other in 10 years. Always dear friends. He hears that I got a farm. He comes out. Hey, Big Russ, how you doing? What are you doing? We go through all the stories and knew I was rodeoing. You get a lot of press when you're in a small area. And he goes, yeah, I've been following your rodeo career. I love rodeo. Remember Edgerton Park? Oh, yeah, I remember Edgerton Park. So anyway, I said, hey, Russ, and at that time, Russ was in pretty good shape. He's a big man. And I said, let me see you ride this horse around. He rode the horse around. He did a good job. I said, you can ride. He said, is there any chance you think I could ever ride in a rodeo? I said, Russ, with your size and your athletic ability, you're a steer wrestler, And I'm not sure, Mike, if he went to a clinic or hooked up with you to learn. I gave him some pointers. I was an average steer wrestler. If I drew a good steer and I was mounted good, I could compete. Russ, like I said, Mike, if it was 10 years earlier and he had started, Russ could have really done some damage. He was that good an athlete, and he had that craving desire that athletes have. Yeah. And Donnie, he was a knock-around kid from Murray Street in the Lyle Avenue area where we grew up, and grew up to be a good bull rider, very athletic. One thing people don't, Mike, you probably remember, Donnie could steer wrestle. Yeah. He couldn't ride a horse very well.
No.
He
couldn't ride a horse.
He couldn't. No. I mean, you'd have to place him. You have to set the stirrups for him. Shorter guy. But I'll tell you what, he backed in the box. When he nodded his head, he was coming to bulldog. Yeah. And he's strong, and he had technique that he probably picked up from Darryl and Ward and those guys, when he was a kid. And he could flat out bulldog. In fact, when he broke his leg real bad, he was winning St. Tite, Mike. Would have won that St. Tite rodeo. He couldn't go back. I think that was 3 go-rounds in the dog end. I'm not sure, but he couldn't go back.
Broke his leg up.
Huh?
Broke his leg up there pretty bad.
Yeah,
real bad.
That was
a
good wreck.
Yeah, we had to bring him to. So I had to. Yeah, we're in the middle. You would think, Doug, you traveled? Did you rodeo up there at all?
Oh yeah, we were up there in September.
Okay. Well, Quebec. They speak French.
Yes.
That was like their honey hole.
Oh boy, wasn't it though?
We loved.
Oh man, we cashed a lot of money.
Yeah. We'd like to have all that money in our pocket. We won up there.
Oh yeah.
Did all you guys ride St. Tite?
I did.
Dave probably never went up there.
Probably didn't.
No, Dave didn't. But the rest of us went up there.
Talk about St. Tite.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of. Yeah, we're gonna leave some of that out.
PG.
No,
I thought it was great.
Actually, I took the first time. I was one of the first Americans, not the first, because there were a couple of guys that had gone up there that lived up close to that, up in way up northern New York and up next to the border up there that had gone up there before me. But I had heard it. We were rodeoing in Ontario quite a bit, and
a lot of rodeo.
I had heard some of these Ontario boys talking about going up there to St. Tite, and so somebody let the cat out of the bag. So I called the stock contractor and talked to him about it because we got burned on a couple other deals up there in Quebec. So he said, that's a legit deal, and it just got started. I don't know how many years was it this year, Doug?
32.
No, gosh, was it?
It was 60 something.
What?
Yeah.
60?
Yeah, I think it's 60.
Wow.
You're kidding.
But I went. I don't think they'd been going for 4 or 5 years. When I started up there, but the 5 of us went in on an old Dodge Yeah, it had an old Dodge 4-door, 6 slant 6. It was a Plymouth. It was a Plymouth 6 slant 6 that had 150,000 miles on it when I bought the darn thing from the salesman down there. But anyway, 5 of us went up there that first year. It was me, Vern, Darryl, Joe Farley, my brother Dan, and I don't know. There's 5 of us anyway. Went up there. Oh, Rob Cornball and. My brother Dan probably should have won the bull riding, but that was the judging back then. The guy who'd stand on the ground with a stopwatch, and he was watching the bull ride. Dan rode a bull that had never been ridden. It turned back, and he rode him. Probably after about 15 seconds, Danny run out of gas and got thrown off, and the guy looked and they blew the whistle. And they wouldn't score him. He'd rode that son of a gun at least 12 seconds at least, and. But anyway, after that, we went up there. We cleaned house. All of us did well up there, and we started going up. And then I let the cat out of the bag, and then a bunch of us wound up becoming actually, one of the bigger rodeos up there in Canada now. I mean, I think it's next to best. They're trying to get it almost as equal as Calgary, but it's big. But me and Darryl been up there a whole bunch, back and forth.
Well,
Yeah,
we had a lot of fun.
yeah,
We've been up and come back and rodeo down here in between.
Yeah.
yeah.
We used to have a jackpot Wednesday and Thursday or something, or Tuesday and Wednesday, and then the rodeo would be Saturday and Sunday. We'd
Yeah.
come back,
We
go
got
to
to go
rodeo down
back. Harmony, New Jersey.
Yeah, you go to New Jersey and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. The first year I went there, I run one better than half the length of that arena, a calf on Old Buttermilk, and was 9.5 or something like that, and win the rope, and they thought I was Roy Cooper.
You look a little like him.
I just had a lucky run, everything just came together right.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
It was funny anyways, they thought I was something. Then they found out the next year I wasn't that great.
Yeah, we
You,
took
proved them wrong.
we took an awful lot of money out of
It
there.
was,
Oh my goodness.
we took a ton of mount money,
Yeah,
I always won more money calf roping up there than I did bull riding.
Did you really?
yeah.
Yeah, just seemed to be a spot. I won the first team roping they had up there. Me and Rob Wright.
Mm. Yeah,
The very first one they had, the first year they had, me and Rob won it.
yeah,
And I think I went 4th with Greg Bennett.
yeah.
So yeah, there was some tough team ropers there. We just happened to hit it right,
Yeah. No,
But it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun up there, and we got some really strange experiences up there. I'll tell you that.
That's a crazy place. Even we were talking before about when we rodeoed and traveled to Ontario.
Oh yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Did you ever go way up to Exeter?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, more.
Yeah. I was telling Mike,
That
back
was a
then
great
the chutes were made of, I don't know what they made. Had to be oak, Mike, real thick,
yeah.
1-inch oak, and Christ, they were 8 foot tall, and no matter how big your horse or your bull was, you felt like a baby in a carriage down there. It was so small.
I can't remember. I know I was right. I remember riding horses up there, but I don't remember what the chutes like. Barebacks up there, but I don't remember what the chutes looked like.
No, the chutes they were huge.
Yeah. Well,
They
you
were
remember
huge.
what they were like at Attica and Lima and all them. It was just about they were,
Oh,
they
yeah.
were bigger than that.
Bigger, right, Mike?
They were bigger than that. Yeah. So, but yeah.
That was
Now, Dave,
we had a lot of fun up there.
Ontario, yeah, they treated us pretty well.
did you ever get to Ontario very much, Dave?
I went up there a few times. I can't remember what the towns were, but I
Yeah.
did go 3 or 4 times
Yeah.
up there.
I remember one of the earlier ones was Toronto at the CNE that I went to. Mom borrowed my granddad's van, and Mom, I think I was just 16 years old, just had my permit, and away we went. But I think
That was a fun rodeo.
I
More
love
than
that.
once
I always did well there.
that
I liked it.
probably
too.
Ronnie Deschamps was the big
Yeah,
bareback
he
king
was-
back then, wasn't he?
Yeah, him and I were neck and neck
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And then, I went to where they played baseball. I can't remember the ball field. that was before the rodeo you were talking about, but it was in Toronto, and Harris had some bulls up there. They got out.
Oh boy.
Somehow they got them back. I don't know where they were trying to get them back, and they jumped off into the lake.
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I know they roped them and they swam back though, because they said down there in Jersey where they came from, they were used to getting in the water. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the story they told me anyway.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Oh, Howard.
I
We were
remember
there-
the C&E
we were there.
when it was, in the Coliseum there, and the bull got out during the performance, and it was always during that week of Labor Day, but it was hot. It had to be 100 degrees in there, and I kept getting rewrite after rewrite. It was crazy. But this bull got out, and he jumped out, and I'll never forget it, because there was thousands of people, because there was an amusement park right there, C&E. This freaking big black bull is starting to take off, and I'm looking for my kids, and all of a sudden I see, I think it was the McKenzie brothers, John and
John and Fred McKenzie.
John and Fred McKenzie, Larry
They
Walls.
caught.
Remember Larry Walls, the black cowboy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I think maybe even Doug Donor. They took out on horseback, and they were chasing this bull. They cut him off. It was unbelievable. And all us cowboys come running out. They roped him. They roped him, and they're dragging him back. And I bet we got probably 100 people on those ropes. And we dragged that bull back into the arena. It was unbelievable. I was terrified because bulls are just going to eat people up. And I had 4 little kids running around and a wife and my mother-in-law. But anyway, they roped those. I don't know if Roy Yorks was there or not. I almost think he was for some reason. But those McKenzie boys, they were pretty handy. So we got that bull in there. But that's Toronto, yeah. Then remember, we used to go to the Speed River Ranch, Archie McKenzie's. That was on the same weekend.
Yeah.
It was in Kitchener, Ontario. Kitchener, Ontario. Then we go back to CNA. Yeah, we had some good times up there. We had some nice rodeos. Mel Wakefield had the stock usually. Right, Mike? Mike?
Yeah. Mel had one of his. Mel used to have one of his ranch too.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
That must have been a different bull got out at Toronto. I remember one getting out there one year, but he ended up getting roped down by the railroad track someplace, and they about wrecked John McKenzie's trailer trying to get him in it. They really destroyed it. Oh my God!
This one they dragged right back in the arena.
Yeah.
Well, this had to be a different one. Me and a bunch of guys got in the back of a pickup. We're trying to chase him around town, that bull.
Gee.
We got a reporter and a freaking woman all dressed up following us, in her car. And Tom Bishop threw me his trick rope. That's what he wanted me to rope with. That thing would have been good, yeah.
Oh boy.
About 60 foot long,
Yeah. That was a different. They didn't have a real good record of keeping the bulls in the arena, did they?
No. That was a long time ago. My God. Well,
That's crazy.
good old days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
What about
That was a long
Attica-
time ago.
What about Attica memories? First time you competed there, best rides you ever saw, best rides you ever had, stories after the rodeo, Attica.
Go ahead, Dave. You were the first ones.
yeah, I went there in the early '60s anyway, and there wasn't much to it then. When they had some horses and stuff, but it wasn't real uptown. But and then I went there a year or two after that first one, and we're going to sleep in the back of the pickup. And I had a canvas over the back, and it started raining, and rain started dripping through, and Lanny gets up and gets in the cab with the baby. She said, she
this
kept
is
him
after the
dry.
honeymoon.
Anyway, that was Jack. I think he was the baby at the time. That was my big thing of Attica. Well, then I think, not that year, but I think the next year I won it. And they gave me a buckle. And, I was so proud of the buckle. And so, but they weren't engraved. So I took them to a jeweler to have them engraved. And they put on their Attica Champions.
Nice. Well, you were.
Yeah.
You were. Oh, that's,
Yeah.
Attica was always pretty good to me. I seemed to draw good there, and I get tapped off on a couple. I won it quite a few times, as Mike did, as Dave did. He probably between the three of us and Eddie Phillips, we probably won more bareback riding there than any 10 guys you could think of. And that's not brag, it's fact,
What
But-
year?
This was I started in '69, so I'm talking, I had a pretty good run at Attica from '70 to '77, It gets pretty much for all of us, it's kind of a hometown rodeo. I mean, even the guys from Central New York, like Darryl and Ward and all the good hands down there, I think they considered it almost a hometown rodeo because it was the bigger of the ERA rodeos at the time. I can't think of anything much bigger of ERA magnitude, but it was a good gathering place and it was a family atmosphere. And then on Saturday nights, they always had a good band and everybody had a good time dancing and carrying on and sing some songs after a while. Yeah, it was just Attica, a special place. Yeah, a special place. I really, family. Wasn't. We weren't hauling the 50 rodeos then. At least I wasn't. And you'd go there with your family and you'd hang out all weekend.
Yeah.
That's the way it was.
Right, Darryl.
That's the way it was. I started going to the ERAs in '67. You'd go and spend the weekend,
Yeah.
and all the barrel racers had a $300 horse.
Yeah.
And nobody spent expensive stuff, and everybody just had a good time. They weren't, nowadays the barrel racers got $50,000 horses and they're mad if you don't win. It's a whole different atmosphere. I'm not just picking on the barrel racers.
No, it's true.
It was the whole thing. Everybody just had a great time whether they won or they lost.
Yeah.
It didn't break us to go. We had a great time.
Yeah.
It was always good to me, Attica. I like that. I think I won it in '67.
Yeah.
And I know I won it twice in '68 because they had the finals there.
Yeah.
And I know I won it at the rodeo, and I won the finals, and I placed in the calf rope and placed in the bareback ride and win the all around.
Yeah.
And I think the last time I bulldogged there was 2001 or 2, and I won the steer wrestling there.
Wow.
It's always been a good spot for me.
Yeah. I think a lot of us did pretty
Well, and
well there.
that's where a lot of us started.
Just started to go there, you had a great time.
Yeah.
Good people.
Yeah.
You met a lot of people you didn't see all year,
Yeah.
I wouldn't out here,
And
And I've been wanting to get there.
Go ahead.
I've been wanting to just go out and visit for the last 5 years, but we just haven't been in a position to do anything.
Yeah. Well, hopefully
there,
maybe
you know?
this year we can have a little cowboy
Yeah.
reunion.
Nice to have a little reunion or something someplace. That'd be great.
It would be fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
like you said, it was such a family atmosphere. And like when me and Sam started, we'd go there and we'd be there all weekend and get on. We'd exhibition, because they needed cowboys and we were learning and we were willing to get on and we'd crawl on anything and, didn't have the equipment. And it's like the saddle bronc riding. I'd he'd have to borrow a saddle because I didn't have one. Ward Mitchell, foot and a half taller than I am, and getting his saddle. Billy Bean, no, don't adjust the stirrup. But those guys helped as much.
Oh, yeah.
And that's such the great thing about here is just everybody helped what they could do. We'd camp there all weekend and we'd go 5 performances. We'd be out on something, whether it was junior bulls or whatever. And and even like as it got better, you know, there were times when ARA and stuff was together that there'd be 80, 90 bull riders entered at that rodeo, and there'd be 25, 30 bareback riders, you know, so it was a lot of competition, and a lot of guys just come, you know, and only did it once or twice a year, which is fine, you know, that paid our way a lot of times, but you know, and then and the Attica Rodeo itself had its ups and downs, you know, they had, one year the ERA had boycotted the rodeo because another association, I can't remember exactly how the details went, but all of a sudden, you know, the ERA guys couldn't go to it. I think it had a lot to do with the RCA and all that. And
Dave Dancy had it one year, PRCA.
That's right. Yeah,
That's right.
And because of the following,
that was about 72 in there somewhere.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah.
It was.
So I don't know what the whole deal was, and I remember my dad taking a bunch of horses up, and my Uncle Jack had a few bulls. He was a cattle dealer, and they just ground a bunch of stuff around, and you know, we got to make a couple phone calls, got some kids mounted, and you know, the rodeo went on, and they got straightened out after that a little bit. But yeah, it was was kind of a funny time in the growth of rodeo itself, especially back here, because it was so young, that because of the rules and stuff that they had, the PRCA had, and you know, if the PRCA won't let you go, we won't let you go to them, and you know, so it was.
Well, you know, we all had name changes for a short time. D.L. Payne,
Darryl Lane, B DB Lane, you know, and
Gary Paco.
I remember going to my first RCA rodeos. I went to Gerry as a local, and at that time you could do that, and I used, because I was rodeoing ERA, I went as a local and used my first wife's maiden name, you know. I mean, it was before we were married, and you know, I went there, and then I borrowed Tommy Margate's permit because I jumped in with McRae's and everybody. I borrowed Tommy Margate's, and we went out to Wyoming, Michigan, went to the rodeo out there, and I rode on his permit, and you know, so there were things that we did that kind of get around that. But I know, like Darryl, once they started winning, Darryl couldn't go anywhere, you know, because he has PRCA card, and he couldn't. They were turning him in, you know. So
well, well, the thing that helped me more than anything, oh man, I can't even think of the guy's name that was secretary of the RCA back then. He got killed in Airplane Cast. One of them old champions.
Linderman,
anyway,
wasn't that Linderman?
Walt?
Yeah.
Linderman.
Yeah.
Yep.
That it? I think
Walt Linderman.
I think it was Walt.
But anyways, his secretary was related to me.
no,
And she would call and say, "You better not go to Canandaigua. They're over there checking." Oh,
That was a good little rodeo too, wasn't it?
yeah.
oh yeah. I mean, yeah, she was, and you never know whether it's going to be true or not. But you know, I did finally get turned down. But the ARA is the ones that turned me in, not the
Oh, really?
RCA.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, they turned me.
that was the worst of it, because some of those guys that you took their money, there wasn't a lot of them. There weren't very many of them that weren't real cowboys at heart, you know, and cheer for you. But there were a few of them. If you took their money on, they were going to go pout and do whatever they could. But there weren't many of them, you know. But
Yeah, I can't remember the guy that was president of the RCA, the IRA back then. He was trying his butt off to find out who I really was.
Oh, yeah. He was the IRA guy?
Yeah, was it Larry? Who was it? I'm trying to think who it was that was president back then. Oh, man,
Bruce
he
Lerke?
no, probably
Was it him? Was it him?
Abshire, Tom Abshire, maybe. I don't think it would have been Tom. He was the president, but I don't know.
Well, I can remember like going to them Longhorns up in like Bangor, Maine.
Yeah,
Bunch of RCA staff rope was sitting there in the stands.
yeah.
Well, all those guys from New York City, you know, I mean, because they went to Cowtown so much, they were all PRCA guys.
Yeah, oh yeah. These guys were up in Massachusetts area, you know.
Okay.
They were there watching. but they didn't turn me in.
Wow.
And I used to go to all them Longhorns up that way and stuff. I could get to.
Yeah.
They weren't too far.
Well, Darryl, I don't want to break this to you, but the statute of limitations hasn't run out.
Oh yeah. Gee. Good thing you told me that. I didn't realize that.
Are you going to crack back out now?
Yeah.
Oh, golly. Yeah. But that was.
I paid all my fines to get back in the RTA.
Okay, I know.
Yeah.
Like 2 years later, they opened it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish they would have. Yeah, I know.
No, and that was a good thing. It was a real good thing for us back here, because
I told Mike then, quit going to that IRA, just stay back here. You're gonna make more money.
Yeah.
You
I
told
think it was
who?
2 years before he finally did it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Joe Farley was trying to get me to go. And the worst of it is, I was making enough money going to I could go anywhere I wanted to. And once that opened up, I still didn't have the desire to have to go to Cowtown as many times as I would have had to gone to make,
Oh yeah.
and little things like that. So that was my decision to go.
It gets old, don't it, going there?
Yeah.
And
very
Ward,
old,
he
don't
went there all the time, didn't he? Ward, he went there.
Ward, yeah.
Regular.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Not that regular.
No,
Probably more regular than we did. That's for sure.
yeah. And
Well, me and Vern went every week there for quite a few years. It gets old because you can get down there, you can draw so bad you don't even play for week after week. And
right.
it gets old. It can make the best athlete in the world get discouraged.
Right. And that's
They can't do it.
Yeah, I told Doug earlier this morning, that was one of the reasons why, I didn't stay going just PRCA back here is because you get stagnant. You just you get complacent, and because you're only as good as your competition if it's the same competition. And I learned that earlier, just being in Florida, going to the same things all the time. And when that was going to happen, I just knew it was going to happen if that's all I had to do. And I didn't mind going. I enjoyed going down there. The very first one I ever went to down there, Howard Harris was still there running it or helping run it. I think that Grant had already bought it by then, but I had never met any of them guys down there. And I said something to Joe. I said, Joe, I entered Cowtown. I said, and I heard all these horror stories about Howard Harris on, young guys, he'd just crack the latch on you, or
kick the gate.
Yeah, haul off, or if you was on a jump or two, what's that, Dave?
At Gerry one year, this horse wouldn't get his head up, and I'm trying to get him to get his head up, and he said, on a 3, that gate man's going to open the gate, whether the horse is head up or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, they turned him out.
Yeah. But that, and I heard stories.
Everybody's got a Howard story.
Oh,
I got
yeah.
one.
Yeah, so I go down there, and I think I win 3 of the 4 events or something, or I placed in every event deep. And even a steer wrestle, as big as them sorry old steers could be at times, And I come back, and I come out of there, and Howard was standing there, and I walked up to him, and I stuck my hand out, and I introduced myself and told him who I was, and I said, "That's good rodeo, thanks, and he just looked at me and said, "Well, hell, boy, it ain't like I put one on in the last 50 years or so, And that was it, but he did inquire later on. I found out he had inquired who I was, and, well, we need more guys like him back here. Because I asked Joe, it was back when I was doing the funky chicken, I always, when I got off and did good, I did my little victory dance, and I asked Joe.
You broke it out at
'cause
Manassas.
Somebody had told me that if I did that, he'd probably come over and run me over with a pickup horse or something, But I did that, and when I asked Joe, I said, Joe told me, he says, Mike, just be yourself. Don't worry about it. Just be yourself. And I said, yeah. If I can't be myself, I ain't going to be here. So I did that, and then Howard really appreciated it. Now, there were some contractors that took a while for me to make them understand. It wasn't because I was making fun of the livestock.
You're happy.
Which, Darryl Ladding was so mad at me. I thought he wanted to shoot me, but I had Bucking Horse of the Year one time, and I won rodeo on him, and I got off and did that dance, and I had my hands full. I mean, that horse could have bucked me off any second. My hand felt like it was going to blow out of there, but I just kept hoeing it out of him, and I got off and did that dance. Well, Darryl thought I was picking on his horse.
Oh.
He thought he misunderstood it.
Like fanning
and
him.
he come up and he climbed all over me. And I said, Mr. Ladding, I have all the respect in the world for you and that horse. Had me bucked off. I said, but I want you to just stop and think about one thing, and that's all I'm going to say, is what was the audience's reaction to that? And he stopped and thought about it. He said, well, they're pretty excited, weren't they? I said, that's all I do it for. And then, so after that, it was, after that, we got along good. And, and then Jim Zinser, so a lot of times, yeah, dumbass Yankee, But, no, we had a lot of fun. There's a world of memory. We could probably be here for another 10 hours,
2 days.
doing this, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
But Howard, he was tough on his own boys, probably
Oh, yeah.
tougher on them than he was on us. But I was at
He
the
was.
state fair. I drew real good. Ward was there. I think Ward pulled me down, and geez, I made a nice ride on this horse. Just made a nice ride, It's got a good score, but I'm looking around after 8 seconds. I'm trying to take my bind out. It takes a little second to get your bind out, not long, and I'm looking around. There's nobody picking me up. What the heck? He's one of the pickup guys. So I said, what that? So finally, I got off. I jumped off. So I talked to Ward after. I said, geez, Ward. I said, well, where are the pickup men? He said, well, a little different deal here. They don't know you that well. I said, okay, well, how do I get to know him? He goes, I'll tell you what, your next horse, he says, good horse. He said, you will spur the hell out of him. He said, after that whistle blows, you keep spurring him. I said, gee, I don't know. He goes, I'm just telling you, you want to get picked up? Keep spurring him. I said, okay. Geez, I got tapped off. Nice little jumping kick horse, almost like a practice horse, but prettier, And turned back at the last second, hit him a couple more times, whistle blew. He come up again, and man, I just gassed it to him. Whoa. I looked to my right, and he's grabbing me. I don't have my hand out of the rigging, and he's grabbing my hand. Get off! Well, I got on the back, and I got down. I said, thank you very much. And he looked at me, goes, okay. And that's all he said, okay. He didn't yell, he didn't scream, but he grabbed me. He was a pretty strong fella. He grabbed me. He wanted to rip me off that horse, But Ward came up to me and says, you'll always get picked up now.
Now, we hope that you enjoyed Mike, Gerry, Dave, and Darryl's conversations. They covered a lot of ground, and we have more that's going to be coming up in the future. If you did enjoy this conversation, please share it with your friends. Go on our Facebook group page, Beyond the Chutes. Find us, follow us, like us, do all that good stuff. Share these episodes out there. And to make your listening easier, you can find us on all the major streaming podcast platforms. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Simply search for Beyond the Chutes and follow us. Remember to check out the New York State Rodeo Museum Facebook group page. It was the inspiration that helped Beyond the Chutes get started. We'd also like to say thank you to ParaSight Systems for their support with our podcast. They help us go up and down the road, and BTC was on the road again in upstate New York. Now, ParaSight System is a push-button parasitic diagnostic system for your pasture animals, your horses, your cattle, your goat, your sheep, your chickens, and brand new, the all-in-one. Check out with your vets for your companion animals. Now they are testing for your dogs and your cats. You can find them at ParaSightSystems.com. Remember, for your horses, for your cattle, for your goats and sheep and chickens, we have a coupon BTC023 for 50% off your mail-in testing. Simply go online, ParaSightSystems.com, request your kits. It's simple. It's let's test, not treat. This is Beyond the Chutes. Until next time, this is Doug Simcox. Thank you for listening.